Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blue Talk. Again, we're going to look back over Leinster's emphatic victory against Wasps, all the other Champions Cup games, and of course look forward to our game against Scarlets at the weekend. So boys, 37-19 victory over in Coventry. Good display.
Yeah, it was a very odd game, wasn't it? It was kind of, after the Munster game, which was so intense, it was like they were knocking lumps out of each other. Our game was kind of really lacking in intensity. It was an odd game that way. Like, yeah, we put in a good display. We did what we needed to do for sure. Scored 4 tries, and there were parts of the game where we were looking fairly decent, but it just didn't have that intensity. They weren't knocking us down the way Munster were getting knocked down, or the way Exeter were getting knocked down by Munster. They weren't, for obvious reasons. They had no real skin in the game. They had nothing they could do. You know, they'd lost all their previous games, so the worst they could do was, or the best they could do was not be hammered. You know, because we needed to win the game, and if it had got dirty, if they had really upped the intensity and played like Exeter did, then we would have found a way to win the game more than likely. But they kind of didn't offer a lot.
Don't think a team can.
Yeah, they're a bit handicapped in terms of
ability.
Yeah. So currently, like, look at them. It's only 3 years ago or whatever that they were putting 50 points on us over
for
there.
sure, but like, look at the team selection from those two matches, like worlds apart.
True.
Like, all of our younger generation have all come in and matured and had 3 years experience. We were talking off air about our under 20 guys that played in the World Cup final for the under 20s. 3 of those or 2, you know, the James Ryan, Andrew Porter, Stockdale, but said Leinster guys have come through, got Ireland capped, and you know, like some of their world class players have either got older or lacked interest, or they've gone back to Australia
or wherever.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we did what we had to do. I mean, all we had to do was win, so that's what we did. They put up a bit of a fight in the second half, but we kind of stretched away again. We always had that. We always had enough. Even when it was 20-0, we had plenty in reserve. But that's just the way the group turned out this year. You know, it's hard to really say anything about the game because there's not a whole lot to say, because not a whole lot happened. You know, We went out, we were professional, we won well. Next.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's kind of indicative of where we're at as a team now, that we're disappointed going to Wasps. And not disappointed, but we're kind of blasé about going to Wasps and winning by a fair margin and putting 4 tries in them.
Yeah, but they're a poor Wasps side. You have to be realistic about it as well, you know. And like, it's just a pity we went to Toulouse and lost that game and threw it away in the last few minutes, because now we've got a home quarter final. But should we win that game,
we're dependent on Toulouse giving us a home semi.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, could happen.
Oh, it could, of course, yeah.
I mean, in fairness, Toulouse have been giving us a semi for years.
But that was Claremont.
No. I never drank the Claremont Kool-Aid. Claremont are actually probably the worst team in the history of professional rugby.
By some metric that you've just invented.
No team has spent so much money to so little gain, has they?
In trophies.
I mean, they spent more than Toulon. And Toulon won 3 cups and they won nothing. Spent more than any other team I can think of.
They won a Bouclier with Joe.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, when?
2010.
Yeah, does that count as this decade?
Just
Depends which way you do decades, from whether it starts in 2010 or whether it starts in 2011. No, they're the worst team this decade without question. I mean, unbelievable that team could spend that much money and do so little with it. I mean, a lot of people drank the Claremont Kool-Aid, but I never did. I always thought they were spoofers, and they were spoofers.
Yeah, I'm not sure we all see it in the same black and white terms as you, Dave, but
I don't see it. But the only black and white I'm interested in is the one on the trophy list.
The silver. Yeah. The silver and white. Fair enough.
But we'll go back and talk about our game shortly. We just rattled through some of the other results. So in our pool, Toulouse, as we mentioned, they beat Bath. Do you think Toulouse? Do you think Toulouse
played to win?
Played to only scrape by that game, and
Absolutely.
therefore avoid playing us in the Viva?
I don't think it's so much avoiding us, to be fair. Although that might have been an element of it, but like, if you played in the top 14 and you played Racing on a reasonably regular basis, and you had an option of a semi-final in your home country that your fans could drive or get a train to, against a team that that you played regularly and probably beat reasonably often. Would you go for that if you had a choice, or would you go travelling to Dublin against the Heineken Cup champions? I know what I'd do, and it'd be the former. So I can pretty much say that they definitely nearly bit them in the ass, because Bath were only 3 points away from them.
That's right. Yeah, Bath came back strongly, and they passed up a number of chances to do various different things. And
well, if I was them, I would have just kicked for goal every time, since you couldn't score 4 tries. You know?
I think it was good game management.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the best way to look at it. From Toulouse.
It also
future game management.
It also, don't forget, does the tournament a big favour, because it means they can maximise the gate revenues, because we get Ulster and Lansdowne Road. That's going to sell out, pretty much guaranteed. In fact, if I had a few million quid, I'd buy all the tickets and just sell them to people for twice the price.
You'd be a tout.
I wouldn't
You'd be a tout.
I would.
Oh.
If with Toulouse, wherever they play, I'm not sure where they're. I presume it's in that big arena. Where else? The U Arena. But they're, that's guaranteed to sell out as well, because anyone, you can get a TGV from Toulouse to Paris in 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. So they're gonna stuff that. The EPC, or the whatever they're called now, EPRCQFT. If
ERC plus a P.
They're gonna be happy with their bit of the gate revenue, and it'll lead to some semi-finals that everybody's happy.
And the other side of that is there was a danger that there would have been a lot of repeat matches.
Yeah.
Ulster would have gone to Racing.
Yeah.
We would have had to lose, which were games from the pool stages.
As it is, Sarries are already hosting Glasgow.
And Sarries are already hosting Glasgow, so this keeps us an element of freshness to the quarter-final fixtures, which is
so it
good
really
for the tournament as well.
Toulouse did everyone a favour.
Yes.
The fans, the tournament owners, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so moving to Pool 2.
Wouldn't
it? Moving to Pool 2, that was Munster's one. They beat Exeter 9-7 in a titanic arm wrestle in Limerick.
It was a brilliant game. It was titanic, as you said, the intensity, the hits, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that was lacking was, good rugby. Because it wasn't...
Bit of attacking structure.
And from a purist rugby point of view, the only highlight was Conor Murray's box kicking, which was just unbelievable. That guy can... he wouldn't even bother with a sixpence. He'd find a farthing or something smaller to drop the ball on.
You lads are too young to remember sixpences.
Yes, we are.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to admit that. But he was the class of himself, and Jack Nowell actually were the class on display.
Tadhg
Byrne was very good as well. Yeah,
and unfortunately,
he was unfortunately injured. Yeah. That's awful for Ireland, and
especially when he was just in we're all obviously have vested interests, and we want Toner and Ryan to probably start for Ireland, but it's great to see somebody coming in and pushing them, especially when the stalwarts that were in the Ireland team for a long time, O'Callaghan, O'Connell, and obviously Kelly before that. We were kind of thinking, who's going to replace these lads when they go, and then you've got this depth of talent now coming through.
Well, ironically, I still don't think he would have made the 23, because I think it would have been the two boys and Hendo. But he's out as well.
Yeah.
And the two men of the match from man of the matches, persons of the game, whatever. From the other two, for those two fixtures are both out. But he was superb. But as a rugby game, it was. I think probably there wasn't enough space to play really any rugby in. But then isn't that what a good player is supposed to do? He's supposed to make his own space. So.
Well, it's also what a good defence is supposed to do, is close it down. So defences were.
Exeter are a hateful team to play against.
Yeah.
When you have the ball, they're superbly organised. They really, really are.
But
and better teams than Munster have found it very, very hard to break them down.
Do you remember when we played Scarlets? Maybe 10 years ago to 11 years ago to win in a manky old dirty day over in the old not Park Scarlets, the other one, the old Straddy Park.
Yeah, I do.
To go on and win the Pro 12 or whatever it was called, Celtic League at the time in
Magnus League, I think it was
2008. That was kind of a coming of age match for us, and I thought last season when we played the two matches against Exeter at Christmas, where those two matches were this team's coming of age, where they kind of had to grow up very quick down in Exeter, and then they were being beaten quite comprehensively in the first half, and they really had to dig deep in the second half, And maybe this match for Munster, winning 9-7, it's a game that you could easily have lost, and they've somehow managed to dig it out and win.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I don't think anyone would really question Munster's ability to win that kind of game. It's other kinds of game that people still have.
They've been losing those games, Dave. They've lost semi-finals when it's come down to it in the clutch.
Yeah, they have.
They've been beaten in the semi-final in the last 2 European Cups. They're beaten by us in the semi-final in the Pro 14 last season. So now they might have moved on, and okay, it's not the semi-final stage yet, but it's enabled them to get into that level.
Mm.
Yeah, I just think it was really good that they won a game that they had to win. But I'm not sure it says much more about either side than that. Exeter haven't.
You have to give praise. You have to give praise where it's due.
Oh, you do, yeah, and I will do. But I mean, at the end of the day, you also have to. If Munster don't look at the things that they're at their shortfalls, then they won't improve. And they'll find themselves.
No one's saying it's the perfect performance.
No, I'm not saying that.
What I am trying to say is that performance that they did put in was when they had to get down and dirty and win. They did.
They did, yeah. They scored 3 lovely penalties.
Well, they scored them. They scored them.
But that's been the question. That's been the question and criticism of Munster all season. Indeed, for the last 18 months, it's not their ability to do that. Everybody knows that. I mean, you can pick a girls under 11 team for Munster; they can do that. It's in the DNA. The question is when they have to do something else. And the question about Van Gran, I was going to say McGann again. Van Gran's team is are they able to open up other teams when they need to? And
we shall see.
That's still unanswered. But it doesn't matter
but
because at the end of the day, they get another chance to answer that question. Exeter won't.
But Exeter aren't that type of side that are just opened up. You saw how narrow the winning margins were when we played.
Oh yeah, very.
We didn't go out and open them up. When last season we were scoring a rake of tries.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, still it was a good performance.
Oh, it was a very good performance. Yeah, I mean I wouldn't argue with that.
Okay, Pool 3 then. Saris against Glasgow. They obviously play each other in the quarter final. They beat them 38-19. The scoreline probably reflects a larger gap between the two teams than was possibly there.
Well, yes, in a way it does, because did you watch?
I did, yeah.
It went try for a while,
and
then Saracens scored and Glasgow didn't score, and Saracens scored again. And that's what Saracens do. The way I always say about how to cook a lobster.
No.
No, but that's what Saracens do. I mean, that's what they do to you. They slowly heat up until all of a sudden you look around and you're 20 points behind, and that's what they did to Glasgow again. And they
suffocate you
a little bit better in every area. It's the old 1%.
I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you probably do. It was about 2008ish, 2009, 2008, I think, where Biarritz were in a group with Northampton.
Yeah.
And they thrashed them. I think they might have scored 28, 29 points in the group. They hammered Northampton home and away. And then they took the quarter final, they ended up playing Northampton again. They took the game down to San Sebastian and got beaten by a point. I think they won, it was 7-6 or something, whatever it was, 8-7,
anyway.
Something like that anyway. But Northampton scraped by them, and Biarritz, who had been as dominant as Saracens were in the group phase, I would love to see Glasgow have that kind of. You never know. Saracens have a lot of England players. Obviously, Glasgow have a lot of Scotland players. Injuries and whatever in the Six Nations could end up. Glasgow are not they're not a shit side. On the day, they could end up taking Saracens out. Now, I said that last week and obviously was wrong again. But you just never know. Never know.
Glasgow.
At least they know what it's like to go to Saracens' home ground. That's about the third or fourth time.
The thing about Glasgow is they're a bit like what you call them, about like Scarlets are at the moment. They've never pushed on. They went to a certain point and then they plateaued, and
they're not in great form in the league.
And you might even argue that they've dipped, but they never pushed on from that level. In the same way that Scarlets didn't. But they have good players. I mean, they have obviously Tommy Seymour, Hogg, who's off. And others shred the thing, but you'd question whether when the chips are down, are they able to take on one of the big boys? I don't think they are.
If they played Saracens 10 times, they'd be lucky to win 2.
Yeah, and that'd be.
But if it's one of those days.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, they only need to be lucky once, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
And I suppose they do have an advantage. Both Glasgow and Sarries play on the 4G pitch, so going to Saracens' ground isn't as awkward as it might be for us to travel. We only play 2 matches a season.
Didn't do them any favours on Saturday.
No, I know, but I'm just saying some teams.
No, it is. I mean, there is a certain familiarity there that they're advantage. But most teams train on 4G pitches now anyway, or have access to one to train on in the week leading up to a game. I know when Leinster were playing Glasgow in Europe last year, they spent the entire week training in Donnybrook.
Mm-hmm. Okay, to Pool 4 where 2 teams came out. Racing beat Scarlets, as you mentioned. They just seem to have been in reverse gear. They've lost that match. They lost. We'll talk about them later when we're previewing our game against them in the league. But like they've lost 2 of the 3 matches over Christmas. They lost the match against Racing. They've just been pretty poor this campaign as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was another game that was a bit. It was in shape. It wasn't dissimilar to the Scarlets Glasgow game, because they went tit for tat for a while, and indeed at one point Scarlets were ahead. I think they went ahead 2017, and then Racing just went through the gears and pulled away. The Racing were a better side. I watched it after I watched the Ulster Leicester game, but Scarlets, as you say, we'll discuss them in a while. But Racing have got better since last year. The other side of that, though, is they've also got Flake here. You know, they have better players. I mean, Finn Russell is an upgrade, but he is flaky. Simon Zebo's the same.
You could argue he lost them the game against Ulster.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. So when they're playing well, they're a better team than they were last year. But when they're not playing quite as well, I don't think they have the same resilience that they had last year. But they had too much for Scarlets in the end. Mm-hmm. I mean, last year, if they weren't playing well, they had the ability to just dog it out. I'm not sure they have that this year.
Scarlets played good rugby, though, was it?
Yeah.
So I always enjoyed to watch them.
Scarlets
hammering in the tries, you know.
Yeah. I mean, when they're all singing together, like they really do go. Like Johnny McNichol's great. Steph Evans looks to be coming back into form.
Yeah.
Just at the wrong time for Ireland. And indeed Leinster. So it's going to be interesting to see how Scarlets go next week, which we'll talk about soon, and how those players contribute to Wales.
Yeah, indeedy.
And the other match in that pool was Leicester's defeat at home Welford Road to Ulster, who I was actually at that match, and it was a game of 2 halves, Brian. Until John Cooney came on, and then the whole thing changed. Henderson was just fantastic, and again another fellow who's very unlucky to get injured. He was just back from 4 or 5 weeks out, and he's going to be
2 cracking games, and then
very disappointing for him to miss out. But I just like meeting and talking to some of the Ulster fans after the match was quite like they were celebrating like they won it, because they, as one fellow pointed out, they haven't really got out of the pool too often in the 20 odd years preceding the last time, or the only time they won it. And
I think
twice, yeah. And when we were kind of talking to them, like they saw us in our Leinster gear, they were like, and the last thing we want to do is play you. They didn't know at the time that they were going to end up playing us, but they suspected
it could happen.
And they were like very nervous of playing us, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, why wouldn't they be? It's form wise, we're in a whole lot better form, or we have a better depth of squad. You know, on paper we should be kicking our ass up and down the road. Whether that'll happen, derby games are hard to predict. So whatever state both sides pitch up in after the Six Nations, we'll have to see. You'd expect Leinster to win pretty much. You know, but I'm sure Munster fans expected them to win in 2009 in Croke Park. In fact, I know they did.
Local derbies have a habit of being upsets.
And Ulster did travel down to Thomond Park, I think, in 2012.
Exactly,
and beat Munster down on their
in a quarter-final,
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad Ulster team. Balakoon looks like a
real prospect.
I mean,
him and Stockdale on 2 wings.
Yeah, he scored his try and all that, but his work rate was the impressive thing. Like chasing back to take down the prospect time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's still inexperienced and he's a while to go, but he looks to be a prospect. Lowry's a good player. We've discussed him before. Mm-hmm. They have some decent.
The Mickens, the Mickens.
Getting Marty Moore fit makes a big difference. He's a super player now again.
Really, I tell you, he looked very unfit in the flesh.
He looks unfit in the same way Stan looks unfit, but he went, or Ollie rather looks unfit, but he went, 75 minutes?
Oh, he might have gone that long, but I'm telling you, when we saw him jog it out, like he looked out, honest to God, he couldn't get up.
He looked tired before he started.
He looked out of breath when he jogged onto the pitch and started the match.
Possibly.
He also looked to be trying too hard. There was 3 or 4 incidents where he was popped the ball and he tried to throw miracle offloads and he knocked on silly balls. I think he's trying to force it and isn't fit enough. And like
I don't know. I mean, he never really. I mean, even when he was with us at his peak, like, he didn't particularly. He wasn't somebody that Michelangelo would be using for a model.
No,
unless he was doing a sexual.
But you wonder though whether he sees what Tadhg Furlong is doing for Ireland and Leinster with the offloads that he's providing and the opportunities that he can create by offloading in a contact situation, and he's trying to replicate that with the bigger picture for Ireland and the World Cup looming.
Possibly he is, because if you remember, he always had brilliant hands. That was one of the things that set him apart from a lot of other tight heads, was that he had great hands.
Good tackler and good scrummager. Yeah. They were his 3.
But he had good hands as well. Like, he was a good passer. So maybe I think he comes back into the picture if he keeps going the way he's been going this year with Ulster. He could be an outside bet for the World Cup squad. Not even that far outside.
But the depth, like when you look back over the Mike Ross era and the John Hayes era, how far back does that go?
Oh yeah.
That was a 15-year era.
We had 2 tight head props over the course of maybe 15 to 20 years, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 anyway in terms of
frightening array
in there.
You've got John Ryan, you've got
Moore and the 2 boys, the incumbents.
Yeah, you Finlay Bealham over in Galway, who's played for Ireland. Jason doesn't fancy him, but he's
Archer.
You've got
who I don't fancy.
I don't really fancy Archer, but
he's starting from Munster.
He's starting ahead of John Ryan, so you've got to give him a bit of respect. Yeah. You've got your man Herbst, who's he's steady. But I mean, he's better than most of the options we would have had behind.
Oh God, yeah,
Mike Ross and
when we were back in those days, yeah.
And the 10s as well. Like we've a 10 in every province, 2, and like we've got Billy Burns, Johnny Sexton, Joey Carberry, and Jack Carty who's just joined the squad.
And 9s. And
same with 9s. Every halfback in the country, every starting halfback in the country is Irish qualified. We've got. Behind those 10s though, like you've got the likes of Ross Byrne, you've got 5 of them in. I know Keithley's off to Zebre, but you've got
Tyler Blaine.
Tyler Blaine. These are the second,
provincially
the second place guys who, apart from Rog and Johnny in that same kind of period, or David Humphreys, apart from the 3 of them, most of those guys are better than everyone else was back then. So like we're really living in this era of the most incredible Irish depth that there has ever been in the history of rugby. So, woo!
And yet we still spend less on our professional game than Claremont do in a season.
Fair enough.
So we obviously have the 4 quarterfinals that has got an all-Irish pairing, an all-French pairing, and then we've got Munster have to travel to Edinburgh, and the other one is Sarries again, as we mentioned, host Glasgow.
It's a nice set lineup, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm glad there was no repeat. Or there was one, but I'm glad they weren't all similar to the same to the pool stages. Well, anyway, we scored 4 tries. Mm-hmm. Do you have them there, Colette?
I do indeed. Gay.
Everybody criticised Dave Carney for this, but like he didn't really. There was 3 players coming in at him.
And they did. When he did that, Joe Schmidt got a semi. Because he didn't allow himself to get pushed.
He didn't die with the ball. He didn't. And it was only 2 phases later that I think it got popped in. Okay, 3 phases later that it got popped in. Here we go, ringer, little step.
The moment he took that step, I knew he scored. Yeah, I mean, I just knew it because.
But like, they weren't the most committed defenders you ever saw in your life. They weren't looking to take his head off. They were just, lounging around saying, "Yeah, we'll make a hit here."
You could be committed like McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and you still weren't going to stop him when he made that step.
Fair enough. Like, look, when he gets the ball, you think he can't not score. But if you look at the way the ball
loopy pass,
just the way the ball didn't sit up from, and 3 guys were out before he could before you could say Jack Robinson.
So the first of Cronin's tries.
Joint top scorer in the pool stages.
We were never under pressure in this game whatsoever.
No.
Like, look at that for a sloppy Maul defence.
It was disappointing we conceded 3 tries though.
Could have put you at the back of that Maul, Jason, and you would have been over with that ball. You were so well protected back there, you know. You just had to lean on the back of the Maul and fall.
He could have worn a top hat and monocle and had a cigar.
He gets on the score sheet so often, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a disappointingly average try for Sean Cronin.
He didn't have to do anything fancy.
Yeah.
You just literally had to lie on your man, keep his legs moving and fall.
That was a well organised Maul, in fairness.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing they could have done about it.
But look at the amount of protection he has.
Kill themselves.
Look at the amount of protection he has gone over the line.
Yeah.
So.
And no, this isn't the same try, just reversed.
From the other side.
I was glad to see...
Billy James Brown needs a fucking maniac.
I was glad to see Sean O'Brien back.
Played well as well.
Yeah, good game. And played 80, I think, didn't he?
I didn't realise that he was... No. That he came on, or that he was starting. And
somebody said it to me.
He gave a little pass just at the start on the sideline, the same side as we were on. That looks very like Sean O'Brien. But I was delighted to see him that he made it back. Good to see him back.
Somebody said it to me just before kick-off that Conan was out. I don't know whether it was announced in the stadium and I missed it, or whether somebody was reading it off a phone or what. But
well, I found out about it when I heard a loud yelp from the current Mrs. Cal.
So yeah, those 2 tries would have helped Sean's try-scoring tally in Europe. But
I'd say he's gutted he didn't get the hat-trick.
That's the second game he scored 2 tries this season.
Yeah.
And then the final.
He's a little nugget.
This is a lovely little try.
It's a beautiful try. And look, if you look at the numbers on all the backs of all the players that were involved with this.
Well, that was Keane Healy, I think, wasn't it?
They were all
subs.
Subs. And that's what makes our team different. That all the guys who come on can make a massive difference to the team.
Yeah.
I think it's great for Noel Reid that he's finally getting... I think people are beginning to realise what he brings to the...
going forward. He's very, very good going forward.
That rumour that he was off to Leicester seems to have gone quiet. Whether he is or he isn't, but there was a big rumour going around a while ago that he's off to Leicester, and all of a sudden you hear very little about it.
Max Deegan came on for Sean O'Brien. Remember you were saying if you played the 8, Max Deegan came on.
Oh, did he?
And did well as well.
There you go. Shows the attention I was paying at that stage.
You're 8 pints in this stage, right?
I was about a quarter litre of whiskey in by that stage.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was all good stuff, like.
Yeah.
But it was stuff that you expect to see Leinster do stuff like that kind of, I don't want to say in their sleep, but in their sleep. Because they were just that much better than Wasps.
Well, I suppose for the first time we've seen 2 Scottish teams in the quarterfinals together. That's a huge turnaround for them.
And for the Pro 12 or Pro 14.
Well, there's 5 teams from the Pro 14.
Yeah.
I just did some sums before I came on.
Did you use Excel?
I did, and a calculator. It was great. We've won 80.
He used Excel, but he printed it out afterwards and then got a calculator.
Yeah, just a double check. The Irish teams have won 82% of the European matches.
Wow.
The 2 Scottish teams won 75% of theirs. French teams 50%, English 33%, and Wales only 25% of their games. Welsh rugby is.
But that's going to be reversed in the Six Nations. Wales will probably win it.
It could be. It always seems to be a strange one that they can never really produce their national team's form through the teams, through the clubs.
Yeah. Scarlets have gone backwards. Ospreys haven't come forwards. Dragons are whatever Dragons are, and so are Cardiff. Cardiff are. Sometimes they look really good. Sometimes they look, fairly shambolic, and that's often in the course of a match. It's hard to know it. It's hard to know at Cardiff. But the thing at Wales is even more so than ourselves almost. They are all about the national team. They really, really are.
Well, the WRU are.
Yeah. I think
it's their only team.
Well, the players are as well. Well,
the Dragons
as well.
Yeah. I don't think they completely own it. I think there's still a bit of backwash.
But,
Halfpenny's going to miss the opening few rounds as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably be just ready to kick about a million penalties against us. Anyway.
That's the game I worry about, actually.
I think we're going to be unlucky.
Joe Schmidt, as a coach, Joe Schmidt has never won an international match
in Wales.
A Six Nations match in Wales. So it's, I mean, but on the other side of that, there is the fact that that's quite the motivation.
Yeah.
His last one as well.
His last one as well.
Moment.
What I was going to say was I think we're going to be unlucky in that we're going to get England when all of their players are fit.
Well,
at the beginning of the six. Okay, there's a couple out, Sam Underhill and whatever, but they've got big Billy V back and Mako. Owen Farrell is there.
He's just come back from an operation. He had something wrong with his fingers or his tummy, an operation during the week.
Yeah, but apparently he'll be there.
Okay,
yeah. Launchbury went off. On our game, is he out? Yeah. Definitely, yeah. But should have a plethora of second rows.
Look, we've one of their teams have got through to the European Cup. Like their confidence cannot be high. I mean, I've read umpteen times of when Munster players or Leinster players were coming back into the Irish national camp, and their confidence was high if they were doing well, whereas if the province hadn't got out of their pool or had a poor performance, that their confidence was low. So the English teams can't be cock-a-hoop about.
They're English. They always have confidence.
They can't be cock-a-hoop coming into the Six Nations on the when they see like say last weekend there was 3 Irish matches against 3 English clubs, and the Irish team won each of those games.
And they're travelling over to see us. We do start our game slow. Like, I mean, even last year we barely got out of Dodge with Johnny's heroics.
The only thing I'd say is with us facing England, it does kind of add a certain amount of edge to it that maybe it wouldn't be there initially in some of the opening fixtures. I see Murdo's back. Good to see you, Murdo.
Howdy, Murdo.
You do have 5 good players to come back from injury. That's true. I presume he's talking about the Ouija's. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how those players from Wales and England transfer, perhaps not world class form, into their national sides. The only thing is, I think it'll be different for Wales than England, because Wales, there is that idea where they're going into their Club Wales thing, whereas England it's slightly different. I mean, people say, well, England have to disperse their talent over 4 times as many teams, but they've got 10 times the population, so it's an argument that doesn't really wash.
Well, anyway, that's probably, we can look forward to those matches next week.
Yes.
But we have our back into the Pro 14 at the weekend, so we take on Scarlets. Scarlets have obviously, they lost their 2 matches over Christmas with Ulster. They lost 2 of their 3 games against their local derbies, and they lost at the weekend.
Beat the Dragons though.
Okay, but they lost at the weekend against Racing as well. So they are not in a rich frame of form. I think they're down in 4th place in the table. They've only they have won 7 of their 13 matches. But I did look.
So we're going to get hockeyed, is what you're saying?
Well, I tell you one thing. Even though they've had what you would consider quite a poor season, like as I said, they're in 4th place. They've won just over half of their matches, but they have managed to score 83 tries in the Pro 14. When you consider that we've only scored, well, not only, but we've scored 89, so we're only 6 more tries than them, even though we're on a far greater winning streak.
The other side of that is that they have been coruscated by injuries. They've had a lot of injuries. I mean, they ended up having to play Ken Owens at number 8 at one point.
Yeah.
Not quite recently, actually. So they've had that problem. They had guys left that weren't really replaced, or the replacements got injured, like Blade Thompson.
Yeah. Well, the 2 best players last season left.
And then, like for example, Ty Burns' replacement got injured.
But you'd argue that Ty Burns is a better player than the guy who replaced him.
As well.
Well, no, Blake Thompson's a very good player.
I know he is, but like Ty Burns is probably the most informed player in Europe.
I would say that. I mean, and obviously a guy coming up from New Zealand, we see it ourselves. It's going to take a while for him to settle in. So I mean, it's not like for like, and it takes him a while to catch back up. But I don't think that they really pushed on. A bit like Glasgow, they reached a plateau, and I don't think they pushed on from it.
Has anybody got eyes on what kind of how many of their players are gone to Wales? What kind of a team they're likely to put out? What are their injuries? Are their injuries starting to clear up at all? Or?
Well, they didn't have to play Ken Owens at number 8 last week, so
they put up a good fight against Racing.
They did, yeah. I mean, like I said, they went at one point maybe an hour gone or 55 minutes. 2017, they were up. Like
I just have a feeling that the Scarlets are in a position where they're out of Europe, so don't have Europe to worry about. I don't know if they have enough players coming back, but we are going to lose a lot of players, obviously, to the national team, and they're all going to be in Portugal this week.
Did I hear that Rob Kearney and Dev Tolan are still here for Leinster's game?
Don't know.
I thought I heard Schmidt saying that.
I heard Rob Kearney, all right.
Yeah, no, I don't know about Dev.
Can't remember who did
Alan Byrne is gone.
He's been subbed up,
yeah. By the way, he's been playing really, really well. Last couple of games, he really has. Deserves
credit
for that.
I've just got this feeling that they're going to be in better. They're going to have more of their top players available to them.
Ross Byrne, of course, is out with a HIA, so
yeah.
And like
will probably slot in there.
We have a very short turnaround, so even if we weren't playing, even if we didn't have all the guys over in Portugal. So what's going to happen? It's a Friday night, so it's hard to see any of them. I mean, normally you'd get a couple for the bench, even if they were training with Ireland all week. But it's hard to see even that happening, seeing as I'm not sure when they even get back from
Portugal. Back on Friday.
Well, there you go. Who's going to be released to play on Friday night when they're only just getting off a plane? I can't see anyone really.
No, I don't think anyone would be. Anyone who's in the Irish squad who's gone away to Carton House, or not to Carton House, to
Portugal,
to Casa Cartono. Won't be available. I mean, it's as simple as that. So it's a matter of what we have left, and actually what we have left is pretty decent. The question is, what do Scarlets have left?
This is what concerns me.
I'd say both teams would really rather this game was another time.
Well, it's a pity that the league. Well, okay, admittedly, Scarlets' form is quite poor, but going on the results from last season, as I said earlier, they got to the final of the Pro 14 semi-finals of Europe. You would have thought that the Pro 14 would have scheduled this game to be kind of hitting in when the two teams would be pretty full strength, not at just the start a week before the Six Nations. It's a pity that they can't schedule it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not sure, but wasn't the Scarlets Leinster game in Wales the week before the Autumn Internationals?
No, it was on the 8th of September.
Oh, it was on the 8th of September.
It was the second game, yeah.
Right.
Cardiff was the first one.
And they actually beat us 23-21.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
The only team to beat us before Munster on Stephen's Day, or on 29th.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was. I couldn't remember the day. Yeah. Just wondering.
Well, we played a strong team. Like Sexton played that day.
Yeah.
It's a rare occasion that Johnny goes over to play a league game in Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. But both teams would probably rather this game were another time.
Yeah.
But it's not. Which might square the circle.
The only thing from our point of view is that we could lose it 100-0 and it wouldn't really have a huge dent in because we're 19 points clear of Edinburgh, I think. Edinburgh, Ulster, Scarlets and Treviso are all within 2 points of each other.
Yeah.
So, somebody's got to break out of it. There's another game, actually. Aren't Ulster away in Treviso?
Yes, they are.
Ulster are home to Treviso.
Home to Treviso, sorry. So, there's 2 games that are going to end up involving 3 teams in that little, of the 4 in that little cluster there. So, somebody's going to be breaking out. Where are Edinburgh? Where are they playing next week?
Edinburgh travel down to South Africa.
Okay, yes, they're
Kings or Cheetahs.
Kings.
No, well, that's 5 points for
them. They'll probably get 5 down there. Yeah, we'd see. They'll probably be buoyed by their qualification for Europe. But yeah,
not quite as struck by international call-ups as Glasgow.
Yeah, that's true. Although that might change. way they're playing.
That's true. That's very true. The way they're playing, and some of the players are playing. I mean, obviously they'd be without Nell, for example, who is the WP Nell was superb for them. So they'd be without some players, but
they're all getting in on the act of that Fijian lad. Like the Nell was throwing balls through his.
I saw that was brilliant. It's on 22. Yeah.
No,
lovely bit of play, it must be said.
Nell was mooted for Leinster briefly. Before Edinburgh got hold of him.
Yeah, the IRFU chased him quite hard. The SRU did a good bit of business getting him in. He's a super player.
He is.
Yeah. Well, so just we kind of both spoke briefly about the other fixtures. I'll just rattle through them. Glasgow host the Ospreys.
Glasgow.
Ulster have Treviso in Ravenhill.
Treviso are decimated by the. Yeah. So if their players are all in Portugal, then Ulster are probably going to take, because it's a Friday night fixture as well, I think.
Yeah.
Munster travel over to Dragons.
Ooh, Munster.
Cheetahs.
Quite a considerable amount.
Cheetahs host Sebre.
I'd say it'll be.
Cheetahs will probably win that.
Cheetahs will probably win it, but it'll be an entertaining game to watch because they both.
There's
a certain amount of ball throwing around with both those teams this year.
Don't forget, Cheetahs and Kings don't have anybody in the Six Nations, obviously.
And it's their first game back after the winter break, or summer break in their case.
Did they not play each other last week?
They did, yeah. Sorry, but this is their first, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty warm still down there, and they'll be used to that, whereas the rest of the teams won't be. So I can see them notching up a few wins during the Six Nations, especially Cheetahs. I can just see them notching up a few home wins. And they have to play Zebre, as you say, but they have to play Kings, I think, the following week when we're playing the Six Nations. Also, the other thing about it is there's no Curry Cup distractions.
Yeah.
So, they can focus on the Pro 14 now for...
Interesting rumours doing the rounds in South Africa, actually. It's been reported in a number of the Afrikaner newspapers.
Two more teams.
Well,
it's not the Pumas, hoped.
The Pumas and the Griquas.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen?
We have to question. Sorry, go on, finish off.
They're going to be entered into the Celtic Cup next year, ahead of being entered into the
Pro
14/16 the year after. I'm not sure. I don't think that they either are Division 1 Curry Cup teams. Maybe they might be, but they'd be floaters.
Do you think it's working?
I think it can work if they leave it for a bit. I keep saying this. Stop messing with it. Give Cheetahs and Pumas the support that they, or not Pumas, Kings, support that they need to get bedded into the tournament before you start messing with it again. Because I can't. When was the last time we had 3 years of uninterrupted, unchanged
Pro 12ness
Celtic League rugby? Can anyone think? Did we ever have 3 years in a row? You have to, at some point, you have to say, right, this is our product. We're going to stick with it, and we're not going to mess with it for a little bit. Give it 5 years.
Yeah, but
fiddling with
it. The South Africans are bringing a few quid to it, and they are bringing a few quid. They want the South Africans involved
because there's no one watching it in the stadiums. Like they'd say, they're bringing Super Sports. Is it just to fill endless
build it
hours?
And they will come, as opposed to what they'd say.
Like you look at the crowds. Even when Leinster went down there, they moved it. They moved one of the matches out to
the Sticks.
The Sticks. And there was probably less than 1,000 at it.
I'm not sure what they're doing with it, but South Africa want more of it, so they're obviously happy with it.
Yeah.
Pro 14 are happy with the money, but I'm just wondering if.
Well, the Italian teams have finally started to improve, so maybe the South Africans will too.
And what we saw this weekend indeed shows that South African rugby is the only game in town in terms of expansion. We saw 100 points put on the 2 best teams in Eastern Europe, each. So that's got... bringing in a Georgian team or a Russian team or a Romanian team isn't an option because they're really very, very shit. So you're talking about... do we go to America? But
time zones.
Major League Rugby hasn't started yet. Time zones don't work. So your only game in town is South Africa. But at the same time, it has to have some.
But they have to be Division 1 players.
Yeah, it has to have something. It has to bring something to the league apart from money.
Yeah, they can't be what seems to be currently the case. Division 2, Division 3 standard players. Yeah. They have to be bockies coming through and playing. You don't expect them to play in every game, But some of the games you do want a strong squad.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind them if they had the same kind of, if you like, appearance pattern as we have in Ireland.
Yeah.
Where, you know, for maybe 7 or 8 of the games, there'll be a bunch of Springboks playing. Or of that quality.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't seem to have happened.
They're all bloody playing over here, Dave.
But that's the other side of it. That's the and that's why South Africa want to do it, because they want the greater exposure, which means more money, to be able to keep some of the players in South Africa. But the problem is the players that they're trying to keep in South Africa don't play for the Cheetahs, don't play for Kings. They certainly don't play for Pumas, and they certainly don't play for Griquas. I've actually seen Leinster play Griquas years and years and years ago. I think it was back in 96. The mid-90s. Was it 96?
Yeah.
Leinster played Griqualand West, which is what the Griquas are now. I was at that match in Donnybrook.
Same here,
Yeah.
Well,
we might have passed one another, Jason.
We might have.
There's two things. One, are they going to flute around with the structure of the league? Because 4 South African teams means either A, clatter of travel for all the rest of the teams.
Well, those are still they're what they call in South Africa Plattenland teams. Like, so they're still the travel between, say, them and Free State Cheetahs and those 2 teams and that kind of triangle isn't ridiculous travel. You could do it on a tour kind of thing.
But still, it's a long time away for your Northern Hemisphere teams, and it's so. But is that going to happen, or are they going to rejigger the competition like they did with Super Rugby when they went to 18 teams and have all those sub-conferences?
No. I don't even like the conferences we have.
Well,
so I don't.
There you go. So we're probably going to do something different. Are we going to have 2 8-team conferences, or are we going to have 4-team conferences with, where you have an Irish one, a Welsh one, a South African one?
Don't want that. I mean, in fairness, it's been so successful for Super Rugby. I mean, it really has dragged the arse out of Super Rugby.
There you go.
So,
the second thing that I was going to say is that we still haven't seen the full specs on this global season that we're supposed to have. It's all these things have come out about. We're going to have a competition between northern and southern hemisphere, replacing autumn and spring tests. We're going to have the season is going to end in the end of June and start in October. We see
boots are going to be made out of gold. Robot butlers will bring drinks to our seats.
Well, exactly. We really don't know what's going to happen. It's only one season away that this is all supposed to be happening, and nobody's come out with any firm kind of plans about the whole structure, never mind about each league and what's going to happen. So that the Griquas and the Pumas will be part of that, if indeed it all happens. Will be part of that season where everything links up allegedly, and there's wonderful player welfare rolled out.
If the Pumas are going to enter, firstly, I hope that they enter under the name of their provincial union, just because I want to see Jason try and say in Mpumalanga.
I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah.
One thing I did want to go back to was, after being at 2 matches last weekend, both overseas in the East Midlands, how kind of Leinster and presumably all the other Pro 14 teams are actually missing out on a huge trick that the English clubs seem to be able to capitalise on and cash in on. First of all, at the Leinster match, before the match, there's a huge indoor arena beside the stadium, and they had bands and bars and tables where people could sit down, that people could go in and they would spend, rather than being in, say, around the RDS, people might have a few pints outside in pubs and bars, or they might have pints even if they're in the stadium, but the concessions aren't going to Leinster Rugby, so they're not making cash that way. Secondly, you walk in and it was like going into Old Trafford. There was a huge mega store selling Wasps branded gear, whereas we have a 40-foot container that looks...
We have 2 40-foot containers, and have you know.
But they look pretty crap compared to it. And then finally at the Leicester match, the facilities that they laid, the after-match facility that they laid on for the fans afterwards, was fantastic. Underneath the stand they had a band, they had players came down to jam with the band, they had the Ulster fans, as I said, were celebrating like they'd won the European Cup, but there was 400, 500, 600 of them going mad in under this stand. But staying there for a couple of hours, again, the revenue from the bars going back to the clubs rather than everyone dispersing out and lining the pockets of.
It's just not an option for Leinster. I mean, yeah,
no, but it's a shame
but
it's a shame to be missing out on that trick. And let me just say that I've been to practically all the other Pro 14 grounds. Some that the unions or the clubs.
That's Nelson Mandela Stadium, like.
That is pretty.
You've actually been
there. That is a fairly windblown place. But like just even say Thomond Park, like people just bail off there. They might go into Shannon for a pint. There's nothing really laid on for you after the match. Whereas Leicester actually wanted people to hang around, not a steward telling you to slowly make your way. You can't bring that glass out there, by the way, as happens in Ravenhill. They just want everyone off the premises as quickly as possible. They were actually actively encouraging people to come and have pints and have a bit of crack and spend money in their club.
Yeah,
I would say in fairness to Leinster that they have an event after every match.
Yeah,
in the line out.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about the line out is you can't get a cup of tea or coffee there.
And the beer taps are only in use now and again. So it's just. I mean, It is what it is.
No, I mean, like I understand Leinster.
He already has to surrounded by loads of good pubs.
Leinster, yeah, that's true. But Leinster's predicament is that I suppose that they don't own the ground and therefore they have an arrangement. I don't know what. Obviously, we're not privy to the arrangements that Leinster have with the RDS, and if they.
But we don't get anything out of it.
Well, we don't know. No, we don't know.
I don't think we do.
Well, we don't know, but we might. We mightn't, but we don't know. But the reality is that they are hamstrung by being tenants in the RDS. But there are other stadiums, for instance Ravenhill and Connacht's Ground and
Thomond
Park and Musgrave Park, where, as I said, you are herded out of the ground rather than encouraged to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that kind of situation. I mean, the English clubs have always been very welcoming. They've always had that kind of social thing. To a certain extent, it's actually quite important for a club like Wasps, which is from somewhere else, if you like, that they provide a route in the community for their fans, so that they get to know the place, kind of thing. So that's quite good.
Plus, they have that big facility.
They have that big facility.
Brought into.
But, I mean, even in Exeter, I was there maybe 6 years ago. It was the same thing, and they laid on an Irish traditional band for an Irish team coming over.
Well, I don't think anyone could ever fault the hospitality of an English rugby club. You never could.
But what I'm saying is that they're laying on this hospitality with the aim to try and get a few bob out of you, right? Yeah. Which is obviously you're happy to spend it and have a good time. But we just don't seem to take all of our commercial opportunities when there could be an opportunity there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, we're agreeing with you.
Yeah. God knows they need the money.
Yeah. We have any questions, Dave?
We had one from Rickard. I'll just find it now. He asked about if Scarlets play Jake Ball, does that mean we have to play Scott Fardy? So yeah, Jake Ball has been released for the game on Friday. So that's if we have Scott Fardy, we have Scott Fardy.
We're having a beard competition. Well,
yes. That's right. Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to have Gibson Park.
Yeah.
So if we do have Fardy, it means that James Lowe is missing out. What's that? Four games on the trot.
They might decide. They might decide to rest Gibson Park and bring in, or they might. God only knows what they do. I mean, it's not like we're short of back row forwards either. I mean, we have guys. So or back row and second row.
Well, we've 17 lads off or 18 lads off between Ireland and.
But there is a certain squad depth there, and it's certain. I mean, we've used it before. I mean, all the guys who are missing, but you still have the likes of the Burns, Tracy, Michael Bent. You've got Maloney and Carney, who've been good this season. Ocean Downey made his debut last week or week before last, or 2 weeks ago rather. The last Pro 14 game.
Are we short second rows / back rows,
Josh
or
Murphy,
are we slow?
Deegan, Doris,
wingers,
Penny, Levy? I think has been left behind. You've got obviously Gibson Park, O'Sullivan, Patterson, Frawley. You've got Noel Reid has been left. Is still with us. Conor O'Brien, who I think is about to step between one level and the other. I think he's on that cusp. Obviously James Lowe, Dave Carney, Frank McFadden's back running, Barry Daly's still there. So we're okay in terms of depth. It depends. I mean, that might be all very good, and then Scarlets come fully loaded, and then you're in a bit of trouble. But I don't think Scarlets will be fully loaded either. So
no, but we'll see.
There is talent there. It's not as if we're short of.
Actually, the team will be named tomorrow. Will we have the podcast out before the team is
Yes,
named?
we will. So it's either a really good team we're going to win, or it's under strength and Scarlets are fully loaded. I'll edit that bit in.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was so. I don't know if we played Scott Fardy.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, boys, as ever, thanks a million, and thanks very much for watching. And if you are watching on YouTube, give us a like. There you go.
Oh, very good, very good.
FaceTube or InstaChat.
Have you been listening to the various podcasts?
I have. Yeah. No, someone suggested that I should say it.
You've been picking up very good. It was a good suggestion, wasn't it, Jason?
Thank you.
Was that our fan?
That was our fan. Yeah.
Snapogram or one of them.
That's the one.
Friend Face. That's the one in the IT crowd, isn't it? Right.
Anyway, thank you.